Hi, and welcome back to the Inside of My Head, where I've been thinking about where Muto Prime, the Titan that has specifically evolved for hunting and killing Gojirahs, fits in the Titan ranking. We saw that without the help of Emma Russell and her Orca device, this thing probably would have resoundingly beaten Godzilla. So in this video, I'm going to look at who would win between Muto Prime and Ghidorah. And then I'm going to have a little think about what would happen if the two joined forces. Watch till the end of the video and I'll explain what I mean. Also, hit subscribe for the second part of my video detailing the 17 dormant creatures, which I'm sure will feature in the Apple Plus series in some shape or form. So Muto Prime, lava-like blood flowing through its veins, also sometimes referred to as Lord of Ruin, weighs in at more than double the female Muto's weight, at 135,000 tons, whereas the female Muto weighs around 60,000 tons. I'm guessing that much of this will be due to the extra armor plating it carries due to its hardened outer shell, but it's also a safe assumption that those big front arms aren't exactly light as a feather either. Those arms can slam into the ground and emit a huge concussive blast, which can reportedly knock a 90,000-ton Titan clean off its feet. This guy will also anchor itself to the ground using its massive front legs, which combined with its colossal weight would make it the immovable object from the saying, you know, the one about the unstoppable force, you know the one. Its exact height isn't known, but from the panels we see in Aftershock, it's easily comparable to Godzilla, and it's definitely larger than Dagon, which was reportedly 340 foot tall. We know that it can burrow, swim really well, has ovipositors that can deposit eggs in its victims, but also has a sonic roar that has evolved to be the exact frequency to shatter the plates on Godzilla's back. As well as this, we know that it seems to lose the EMP pulse, or the EMP bubble that we're told that the female Muto has when it evolves to its prime form. Not that EMP blast would do much good against Ghidorah, as there's little to suggest that an EMP blast would affect Ghidorah in any way. Muto Prime also single-handedly killed Godzilla's ancestor Dagon, which is no mean feat. And although we don't know the full circumstances of this battle, there's little to indicate that Dagon was wounded or tired like Godzilla was when he fought Mechagodzilla, and Dagon seemed to be a Gojirah in his prime. Goddamn. So, heavily armored, sonic roar, big chunky chungus arms. Goddamn, I say goddamn. This guy is big. He's very big. But let's take a look at Muto Prime's opponent, the one who is many, the alien that fell from the sky to usurp the throne of the Titans. This three-headed behemoth is actually quite a bit taller than the 393 feet and 1/2 inch Godzilla at 521 feet. So it's probable that he's quite a bit taller than Muto Prime. What the fuck does height matter, you might ask? Well, while it's probably not as important as weight or body mass, height often goes hand in hand with reach. And if you can strike an opponent without him being able to get close to you, you have a huge advantage. And so those three razor-sharp teeth-filled heads on their long necks will undoubtedly have the upper hand in that department, which is good, because if Muto Prime gets in close to use his body weight, blammo! Now, it's not that Muto Prime weighs a hell of a lot more than Ghidorah. In fact, depending on which sources you use, it's sometimes stated that Ghidorah even weighs a little bit more. But the reason that I think that Muto Prime's bulk is such an asset to him over Ghidorah is that Ghidorah is essentially a wyvern. He's got 2 legs and then a big long tail, which balances out the weight of his heads and wings. Of course, he can use his wings as like front legs and walk on those, but I'm pretty sure that because of his center of gravity being where it is, he's quite easily toppled over and overbalanced. I mean, I say easily, but, you know, he's still a big fucking giant 3-headed dragon. But what else has Ghidorah got going for him? Not a lot. I mean, just a mean twin tail, like, just mean, club-like, covered in spikes. Gravity beams.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, gravity, that old chestnut. And if there are any electricity pylons around, like transformers and stuff, he can do this. I love Godzilla's reaction here. Like, what? So there's that. Presumably soaking up the energy and absorbing it into his body before blasting it out of his extremities. In this case, the tips of his bat-like wings. And speaking of the wings, there's the fact that Ghidorah can use those wings to fly. Let's not get blasé about those wings, Guy's got 2 massive wings. Of course he can fly, right? Yeah, of course. But let's not forget what an advantage that is. We saw it pick up Godzilla in King of the Monsters and drop him, so its wings can definitely support a massive load.
What did he say?
So we can deduce that Ghidorah can lift and fly with around 100,000 tons. But he would especially struggle if the queen of the Muto species managed to anchor itself to the ground with its front limbs. But an aerial advantage is always a huge bonus, with Ghidorah being able to stay out of Muto Prime's reach and blast him from above with its gravity beams, but also disappear into the cloud cover provided by the storm that always surrounds him, and burst in and out of it to attack him from Muto's blind spots. But aside from all the physical attributes, the scariest thing about Ghidorah to me is just how aggressive and hostile he is, just seemingly wanting to dominate and destroy, which is unlike other titans, which only attack, when in search of food, because they're really, really hungry and kind of cranky, or when they're, just provoked, when humans encroach on their territory and kind of shoot them with their little pew-pews. Ghidorah's just mean. He just wants to kill and eat everyone for no reason. And whilst Muto Prime is pretty aggressive too, its motivation is to feed and then find a host and then breed. So I think that this makes Ghidorah the more malevolent and cruel of the 2 titans. And given this consideration, you get the feeling that Muto would probably, still protect its young if it was in jeopardy, whereas Ghidorah would probably eat its own young if there was some advantage to be gained or if it just annoyed him. So although Muto Prime is no doubt a force to be reckoned with, I actually wonder if the fact that it's so specifically evolved for hunting Gojira's might actually be a weakness when it comes to fighting other titans. For example, that sonic roar, which is especially attuned to the exact frequency that would shatter Gojira's dorsal plates, we don't know if that would have any effect on Ghidorah, like it would probably hurt his fucking ears, but I seriously doubt that it would be as devastating to Ghidorah as it was to Godzilla. As I said earlier, it's also been said that Muto Prime's concussive blast can knock a 90,000-ton titan off of its feet. The problem being that Ghidorah weighs 141,000 tons. So both of his ranged attacks aren't going to be that effective against Ghidorah. Muto Prime could burrow under the ground and try and pop up behind Ghidorah, but I'm fairly certain you'd know there was a beast of this size under the ground beneath your feet, so figuring out where he is isn't going to be that big of a deal. Plus, if Ghidorah can just take to the air anytime he feels like, you'd have to be kind of dumb to get grabbed this way.
Oh, the ground beneath me is really shaking. I'll just stand still and not use my wings to fly away.
So I'm thinking that Ghidorah would just stay in the air and keep pummeling him with his gravity beams, softening him up and making him nice and squishy. The problem is, though, what does Ghidorah do with him once he goes in for the kill and grabs him and wraps him up? See, because I see that kind of like a King Cobra attacking a rock. Like, sure, you can bite it and roll it around a little, but, if it anchors down, what you go do? La 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 la. So if I was Ghidorah over here, I would hope to get to its underbelly in the hope that there's some soft tissues under there that can be got at. Because if there aren't, and Muto Prime manages to fend Ghidorah off with the smaller limbs he's got tucked under there, Ghidorah might be in trouble at this stage, because it's here that Muto Prime uses his bulk to fight back. But even then, on top of everything else, Ghidorah has been seen to be able to siphon radioactive energy from Godzilla's body, much like he did with the power plant, resulting in all these glowing veins appearing down his neck and across his body as he absorbed the radioactive energy. I stealing your energy. So just as Muto Prime starts to fight back, Ghidorah sucks out his life force. Tasty life force. Yet another factor is intelligence. You'd have figured that with 3 heads and 3 brains, you'd have thought this guy was kind of smart. 3 personalities, the middle head being the leader and displaying signs of tactical thinking and improvisation in combat, while the Muto Prime, he's no dum-dum, but he's more of a bulldozer in my eyes, a freight train of armored shell and muscle. So, Ghidorah, also smarter, in my view. So, this fight is a very difficult one to call. If there was a screen version of this matchup, they would probably throw in some external factor, like some human influence, like the Orca device or something. Or, of course, Godzilla himself would show up and, he'd have to be involved. But here, I'm talking about what if it was just the 2 of them. There's no cliffs for one of them to fall off of. There's no random lightning that'll hit one of them and give the other the advantage. There's no support from another Muto or a Rodan. And all that considered, I would personally give it to Ghidorah. Whoa. As he just seems like no matter how much armor plating Muto Prime has, he would find a way to just take out all of his evil rage and dominating instinct to flip Muto Prime on his back and rip and tear at his underbelly, perhaps even blast his innards with his gravity beams. Now some might say that, well, Muto Prime pushed Godzilla closer to the brink than Ghidorah did, and there is perhaps a debate to be had there. At moments, this guy seemed to be flinging Godzilla around like he was probably admittedly tired and weakened at that point, but so was the Muto Prime. So my general feeling is that Muto Prime is generally a little overpowered, and if we did get a screen version, I doubt that he would just be slinging Godzilla around like that. But of course, I want to know what you think. Get in the comments. I love it when you give me reasons why you think that your pick would be the winner. You really don't have to. Just quickly write the word Ghidorah or the word Muto Prime in there, and I'll tally up the votes. Now back to what I said at the start about the two joining forces. I didn't mean in the kind of like a wrestling tag team kind of way. And I mean, it would be a hoot to see Team Kongzilla versus Team Mutora. Thought that was quite clever. Who do you think wins that one, by the way? I'm thinking Team Evil gets that one. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this. We know that Muto Prime prefers to implant its eggs into the Gojira species due to their large size and the fact that Gojira are more radioactive than other species. But that doesn't mean that it's a complete impossibility for it to seed into other species. And I wonder what a Jinshin Mushi that had been implanted in Ghidorah would be like. Would it be just another Muto? Or would it inherit certain traits from its host like xenomorphs do? And if that was the case, we could be left with the most aggressive and most lethal creature the MONSTERVERSE has ever seen. Thoughts, please? Okay, guys, let's leave it there. Make sure you take a look at my other MONSTERVERSE stuff if you haven't already, and let me know if there are any Titan matchups that you would want to see. So until then, let me kindly invite you to get out of my head, and I will see you very soon for the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and cheerio, bye!